Hello class, welcome to lesson 7. So this week we have some new things coming up. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do the readings and discussion board this week, since the readings are a little different than normal. Then I will go over the midterm assignment and finally over how to revise your essay. Okay, so let's get started. We will have a good grammar lesson on awkward sentences, and if you want to see the video on the most common mistakes for that quiz, see the video link in the description. We'll also have some good videos in paragraph and essay development. Remember not to skip those. So now for our reading, we will be going to the procon.org website. So if you come over here, you'll come up on this beautiful website with recent issues across its banner here. And it just has this list of different issues that there are lots of different opinions on, different hot topics. And what the reading wants you to do is to browse the issues and read about 4 issues that interest you, okay? And this will help us warm up for our critical thinking essay by letting us see different perspectives on one issue and to see that there's evidence for both sides that can help us make an educated decision, but can also help us see that there are more opinions than just ours. So as you go through these issues, you can go through most popular, health and medicine, politics, whatever interests you. Then just pull up the ones that look interesting. So I'm going to pull up vaccines and milk. And when you pull up the issue, it will have a description of the issue, and you can read a longer version of it over here, but this should be sufficient. And then you can read through the pros, which are the arguments for vaccines, for having vaccines, and the cons, which are the arguments against children having vaccines. Okay, so read through both columns so that you have a good idea of what the positive arguments are and what the negative arguments are. And then on the discussion board, you will be discussing the different issues that you've read. Okay, you will choose one of the 4 issues that you read on procon.org. Then you will summarize the positive and negative things about that issue. So very briefly tell us what the positives are, what the negatives are, and then discuss where you stand on the issue and why. Okay? And as you discuss your stand or the educated conclusion you have come to, make sure that you are still open to other people's perspectives. Make sure that you don't condemn other people for their points of view. I've seen people do that before, and what it does is it shuts down conversation and makes other people feel self-conscious and like their ideas don't matter. So just be very careful of how you word what you're saying, that you are letting others know that you're still open to hearing their ideas and their opinions, but that this is the conclusion you have come to and the evidence that stood out to you. Okay, so just remember to be courteous on the discussion boards and to be open to conversation. The discussion board this week is meant to help us see other people's perspectives and the evidences that stick out to them. Okay, so that's how the procon.org website goes. You might pull up an issue that looks more like this. It has the brief description up here, and then it has procons by category. These are like subtopics. So if you come up on a category like this, just pick your subtopic, okay? And once you click into that subtopic, it will give you the familiar pro list and con list that you'll read through, okay? So just wanted to give you a heads up on how those issues work. So remember, read four issues and then discuss them on the discussion board. Show what evidence has stuck out to you, but don't condemn other people for feeling differently than you. Okay? So there's the readings and discussion boards. Let's move on now to the midterm. The midterm assignment is a reflection on your speaking partner assignment. Okay? You will be writing an essay that is 250 words at least. If you go under that word limit, you will be docked points. So make sure that you're writing a little over 250 words, and you just get to reflect on what you've learned. So if you've been doing the alternate assignment, grab your notes, look through them, see what stood out to you most, and write about that, okay? Notice it gives you some questions here that you can look at as you write this essay. What have you discovered about yourself? Has your view of yourself changed now that you've seen how another culture views things? How has this assignment enriched or challenged you? How has it changed your understanding of your own culture now that you've looked at someone else's? And how do you want to continue learning about the culture of God's children around the world? So reflect on these, do a good proofread to make sure there aren't run-ons and grammar errors, and then go ahead and turn it in. I will not necessarily be giving you comments on this essay. If you want me to give you comments and feedback on this essay, let me know and I can send you some feedback, okay? But this is largely for your reflection and to really dig into what you've learned from your speaking partner assignment. All right, there's all of that. Now let's move on to revising the critical thinking essay. As I've emphasized before, revision is essential to making sure that your paper, well, is at its best, but also that you're learning everything you can from this essay and that you're prepared for future essays of this type. So to go over revising the rough draft, I want to go over one of the student examples that was shown in last week's overview of the critical thinking essay. Okay, we'll be going over student example 2. And as we go through it, I want you to look for if the first paragraph clearly states the problem and the answer to the problem or the thesis, and if you feel that the author is clearly supporting their thesis through logic, if they've got good transitions, and if they've got an opposing viewpoint, okay? So those are the main things we'll be looking at because, as you can tell, those are worth a lot of points. So it's important that you follow these different guidelines. Okay, let's get started. So here's the essay. Notice it's in great MLA format. If you have questions about formatting, please see the link in the description. We've got a title. All right, let's read. So remember, we're looking for, does this first paragraph give context for the problem? What is the problem? Why should we care? And does it give an answer? We have an epidemic in this country. Over half of the population is collecting some form of government benefits. If the government cut the amount of time people can collect unemployment, more people would have jobs. When people's benefits are cut or limited, they become more determined to get a job. As long as people are collecting unemployment, they will continue to sit at home and play video games. All right, what do you think? As I look at it, I think that this writer did a good job of setting up what the problem was. Instead of just jumping in and saying right off the bat that we need to cut benefits and so that people don't sit at home and play video games, he instead started with the problem. We have an epidemic. This epidemic is that a lot of people are collecting government benefits. Here's how I propose to change this problem, how to make it a solution instead. Okay, so I think he did a good job here. And so I would say that the thesis is that we need to that benefits need to be cut or limited so that they can get a job. I wouldn't say this is the clearest thesis I've read, but this is still pretty good. This is not a bad example. All right. In the state of California, people can collect up to $11.25 an hour on unemployment for 99 weeks. Okay, there's an interesting statement. This is good. This is him backing up his thesis with direct evidence. He's saying, look at how much money people can collect on unemployment. And then he goes on to say how he would change that. I also want to draw your attention that he is citing his source. This is something else that is in the rubric. It says, if you use the words or works of others to support your position, use the direction given by your instructor to give proper credit to those outside sources. So this author has used MLA format. He's got his in-text citation, he's got a works cited page down here, and that's great. If you want to do that, that's just fine. However, for my class, what you can do is just tell it to me in the sentence. You can say, according to a survey done by, well, let's check who it was by. The state of California. There's a credible source. According to a survey done by the state of California, if I can spell California, people in that state can collect up to that much. So that is enough for me. If you tell me in the sentence who you got this information from, but make sure that is there. If you do not tell me where you got the information, that is plagiarism, and that's a very serious offense. It's also not very credible. Your reader is going to say, well, where did you get that? Did you make that up? I don't know if I can trust you or your opinions. So make sure you tell me who you got the information from every time, okay? Whether in the sentence like this or as an in-text citation with a works cited page, that's up to you. Either works for me, but make sure something is there, okay? So there's another tip learned from this essay. I actually think this paragraph is a little bland. I wish he would expand a little bit more on why he thinks it's a negative thing that people can collect up to 1125. For example, he could say, this means that many people are collecting unemployment instead of looking for jobs that may pay less than the dole they are receiving. Okay, that's not the best wording, but that would expand a little bit more on why is this a negative thing, and then move into what he wants to have done about it. Okay. And then here's another very important thing we can learn from this essay. This is where he goes into the opposing viewpoint. Again, that is something that you must have in your paper. Acknowledges and refutes opposing viewpoint. If you do not include an opposing viewpoint, you will be docked points. So please remember to stick it in here. He does a great example of this. He says, some people say, all right, that's a great transition to let people know that we're now talking about other people's opinions, not our own. Some people say that it may take longer than a few weeks to find a job. That is very true. So here he is going to refute it. That is why it, I wish you'd clarify, it decreasing the amount of unemployment benefits should be based on what the unemployed person's field of work is and how difficult it is to find a job in that specific field. Okay, so he's just told those other people, those some people, why they're wrong, why that doesn't mean that his thesis is bad, why we should still cut benefits, okay? And now he goes on to another opposing viewpoint. Others may say, again, he's referring to people outside of himself, the real problem is that no one is hiring right now, or that it is not people's fault if finding a job is difficult. Some fear that if unemployment is cut, people will not have enough money to feed their families and pay their bills. They may argue that a proposal such as this would leave them and their family homeless and hungry. Okay, this is great. He's saying what other people are thinking. And the reason this is so good in your essay, why you want to talk about what other people might think about your thesis in a negative way, is so that if your reader is thinking that, they know that they've been heard. They know that you understand their concerns and that you've got it handled. You're going to show them why everything is still okay. And he does. So in this paragraph, he then refutes that opposing viewpoint. He shows them why everything is still okay and why his thesis still works. He says families will not go hungry. If we cut the amount of weeks, it will encourage people to find jobs in a timely manner. And he goes on to tell a story about how jobs are being offered to people, but they are turning them down because they're less money than unemployment. Okay? So this is a good example of an opposing viewpoint. Remember to have one. Remember to refute it, to tell them why everything's still okay, why your thesis is still correct. And the rest of this essay is a good example as well if you want to read through it. This essay is a little long. Remember that your critical thinking essay should be, let's look at the parameters, Oh, where are the parameters? There they are. 1 to 2 pages. There it is. So his is more like 3 pages, and that's too long. So make sure that you stay within the page limit. But he does have a good conclusion, and that's something else that you will be graded on in the rubric. It says, the writer ends on a strong note, reinforcing their thesis and indicating the larger significance of this issue. So you'll want to make sure that you are focusing back in on your thesis in the conclusion. And if you're curious of what thesis means, it just means your main point, the thing that you're arguing for. Okay, so come back to that main point. So here he says, people do need to collect unemployment when they fall on hard times. Again, that's recognizing other people's viewpoints. However, he refutes, we need to fix the system so we can help those who really need it and get the people who are abusing the system off the free ride. Okay, there's his thesis again, right? His main point that we need to cut down on those benefits so that people will get jobs. We need to be more vigilant and restructure the unemployment system so that it is not as much abuse and fraud, so that there is not as much abuse and fraud. By helping people become better employees and helping them find jobs, we are helping the economy grow and helping America prosper. Okay, so there's his strong note. He comes back to his thesis. He tells us again why his thesis is important and kind of makes us feel like this is a great cause to support. So this is a good example of how to conclude your essay. So as you read through your essay, look for these points. Did you state a clear thesis in your introduction? Did you restate that thesis in your conclusion? Did you have strong logic, experiences, and examples to support your thesis? And if you didn't, make sure to put that in there. I can tell when students are just kind of rambling, trying to fill space, and it doesn't work. It doesn't convince me of their point or why I should listen to their thesis. As you go through your essay, did you have an opposing viewpoint? Did you acknowledge what other people think about your idea and then show them why it's still okay? So yeah, look for those things, proofread well, look for all our past grammar concepts because I will grade you on them, and you should be good. If you want me to look over your paper before you turn in your final draft, just email it to me, okay? And I can look over it, send you video feedback, or we can do a video chat, whatever works best for you, and I'm happy to give that feedback before the final grade. You just need to let me know, okay? All right, I look forward to hearing from you.